We can jump into good and bad trade.
You start.
All right. So I actually have quite a few. If you want to pull up the charts. All right. So this one I've been in for quite a bit. I kind of got trapped in it, but again, it's Amazon. It's not like getting trapped in, a cheaper name. So I kind of got trapped in it as it kind of came into support, picked some more up versus 31, and let it kind of base out and bought back up through 3,100. And then we got this very easy or quick move back up in the upper end of this range, this 3,400 area. So after it was, what was it? It was like 7-8 days in a row, just running up into resistance. We saw this tiny little doji at high. This was a perfect time for me to, kind of look to take some profits and kind of get out of this trade, because again, I was trapped in it from, 3,300, and I did average down and was able to, get some out. It still looks great in time through 34, through those all-time highs, but this was just a name that I kind of had to get rid of the higher cost basis stock when I had the opportunity, and kind of take some profits from the ones that I bought up near the support area in that range. So not really the best trade, but it was one that, a couple of years ago I probably would have lost money in that, I just kind of sat with, waited for some better setups, and, sold it into the upper end of the range. Next one, if you want to scroll over, Shake, is AMD. The big, a lot of our big focus the last few weeks has been a lot of these support buybacks. A lot of them been working very well as the market has, been breaking out. But again, they don't work perfectly all the time, and AMD was a good example of that. We bought up through 78 versus 75, and I was actually looking to buy up through 84. I had to buy stuff in to add to this. It just never triggered that day, and most of us that were in this AMD trade, we moved our stop up first. That 80 pivot, we got stopped out. We made the $2 in it. Had we given it back to break even, we probably still would have been in, but this still looks good through 84 in time. So made a little bit of money in it, and we'll keep it on the radar to look to buy through that 84 in time. Next is MLM, and this was another, again, a lot of these, the two main points of my trades have been the support buybacks or blue sky breakouts. This MLM was a blue sky breakout. I was looking to buy it through 350, but again, I'm expecting a breakout to new all-time highs, and I just saw these two little doji at high, just some indecision, just showing me that the name really wasn't ready. When I bought it through 350, the original stop was versus 340. It's technically still fine, but it just didn't have, any follow through it. I took the break-even stop in it, and now looking at it, you can kind of see 352 is probably more of the proper area to kind of keep an eye on. So now I still have no problem buying MLM through 352 versus 340, but it probably just needs a little bit of time. So
nice.
Next, again, TTG. Again, same thing with this MLM blue sky breakout. Bought it through that 620, but again, didn't really get the follow through. It went 10 points. 10 points, a $600 name really isn't anything significant. Went to 10 points. I was initially giving it versus 600, so my risk initially was 20 points. It only went 10 points in my favor. And again, for this breakout, we're expecting some momentum. We're expecting some follow through, and it just wasn't there. So this is when I took the break-even stop on it. And 3 days later, I would have gotten stopped out for that 20 point loss anyway. So again, the MLM and this TTG were both those blue sky breakouts through all-time highs. I just didn't get the follow through, and I just took the break-even trade versus giving it back to the proper out. Next up is this VRTX. This was, again, me and Khan have been kind of keeping an eye on this 220 breakout, this base breakout in VRTX for quite some time now. Got into it. We saw that it was holding that 208, 209 area, added up, through 215, but again, just didn't have the momentum. It has earnings coming up in a couple of weeks. This isn't a name that I'm going to look to hold into earnings if I'm, barely 1 or 2% higher than, my cost basis. So when it really didn't have much momentum through 220, just took it off and kind of going to move on to other names. I definitely was in that for way too long. Continuing on, again, a lot of these trades, I've been on a lot of these for a little bit, and I've been kind of clearing out a lot of trades this past week as the market's pulling a little bit. So next one is this W Day. Again, just a textbook breakout. Just didn't get the follow through. Bought through 260. Went about 8 points in our favor. Came right back, and just took this one off. This is still a trade that through 260 I would take that trade again, since I lost nothing in it. And those were, again, the trades that we've been in for a little bit, but the main two have been just sport buybacks and the blue sky breakouts. And for all these, most of them small winners or break even, and then the rest of the swings that we still have on, when I get stopped out, we'll go over them next. So Shake, what do you What do you have going on?
So, I mean, everything in my long-term account is just absolutely crushing it. You know, we started the UPS we've talked about from this like 160 area, the Walmart from 130, that's still rocking. So that's my long-term account. In my active account, you know, I know where we are in the SPY range. So I'm looking at right now a lot more quick trades, you know, 2 and 3 day trades, things like that. That's what I did well here. So Tesla, for example, I bought this Tesla last week. I bought 688 and I had a 682 stop for like 3/4 of my stock. So I only had $6 risk on that stock, and then, you know, I sold into these 2 up days, and then what I did well was, you know, on this 3rd day higher, where it ripped to new highs and then reversed. Actually, you can't tell. It was at 788 pre-market. It made a high of day at 780.79. So once it made new highs and began to reverse, I just sold the rest of my position. It was just a quick 2 and 3 day cash flow trade. That's kind of what I'm doing with, you know, kind of scalping swings in my active account. I also did it, and then I'll give you the lucky trade of the week. This FUTU. So again, you know, I'm looking for more quick trades. I know where the market is on the risk range, you know, at the top end of the range. So we bought this one through this 157, 58 area. You know, you can see, you know, it just blasted off in the open. So I bought this thing pretty much 9:30, and I was out of this thing, but like I sold into these highs at, you know, 10:30, 11, whenever it was. It was literally like a 90-minute trade, and I took my money, and here's the give and take, where, you know, I just sold into these highs. So I missed this move, you know, the huge move on the day. But then the lucky part aspect is they came out with a secondary offering the next day, and I didn't have to deal with that at all. So that was just very lucky. But again, you know, I'm scalping right now. When you're scalping, you have to really worry more about win percentage and batting average compared to risk reward. So again, I missed out on the meat of the move. I only sold half a day's gain here. I missed out on half, you know, the move to above 170. But again, I didn't get, you know, succumb to the next day's pain of that secondary offering. And then my bad trade of the week, which, you know, it's not a terrible trade. The risk reward was on my side. I was just going counter trend. I had some, I had some long exposure. So this day here, we began to find some weakness. What was this last week? April 14th. So I tried to short the SPY here. You know, kept it way too tight for really the trade probability. I went off the previous day's highs. I shorted 412 versus 414. You know, it was the first red candle we've had in like 3 weeks at the top end of the range. It made sense to me in that regard. And then, you know, the next morning we just gapped up and I was out of it, you know, in 10 minutes. So, you know, I was just kind of, you know, going counter trend there, trying to get a cute trade off, and it didn't work out well. So, you know, that's not that great of a trade. But again, SPY's at the top end of the range. I don't really want to be buying too much for the long term, looking for a pullback, waiting on earnings. So, you know, that's really my sentiment right now. Kind of hit and run until we get like more of a major pullback, or we get some really good earnings setups that I want to sink my teeth into.